Sterling has a very special place in my heart. Because Sterling is different, because the income level and so forth is different here, it is very easy to forget Sterling. And I'm going to tell you, if Sterling ever loses Eugene Delgaudio, Sterling is going to be forgotten. And somebody mentioned that, somebody brought that up earlier that I was talking to. Sterling is on the map because of this man. Because we have somebody who is vocal, who is persistent, who never stops fighting for the people of Sterling.
Thank you.
And so we do not want to see Sterling forgotten. You know, I'm not sure which board it was, but you know, the boards went back and forth, Republican and Democrat and so forth. And years ago, there was a board of supervisors that took a bus tour. And they took a tour that went through the whole Sterling area. And there was one of the Democrat members of the board who made a comment. And he said, you know, he says, this looks like a great area for urban revitalization, where we could come in and we could bulldoze down all of these homes and we could create something that would look just like Reston Town Center. And what a wonderful thing that would be. Well, that might be wonderful for some New York syndicates to make billions of dollars on the land in Sterling, but it would be a nightmare for the families who have raised kids here, or retired couples who have retired here, for people like my son and my daughter-in-law who just yesterday had their first baby and are living here today.
Congratulations.
So I'm very concerned because I want to see Sterling represented by someone who actually has a deep love and affection and appreciation for the people here. You know, I received a newsletter. I get Eugene's newsletters all the time, and he sent one, and I ran across it yesterday when I was getting ready to come out here. And he had sent me a newsletter talking about the fact that he had opened up several roads from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. He does this all the time. He puts in sidewalks, he puts in stoplights, he puts, you know, road improvements, all kinds of things like that. And I wrote him a note at that time, and I'll just share it. It says, you know, on 11/30/2013, 4:55 p.m., Dick Black wrote, "Great work. You have done more for Sterling District than anyone ever dreamed possible. My son lives there, and I'm glad you're there to protect his home from politicians who just as soon bulldoze down every home in Sterling." That's the man that represents Sterling Park. Now, Eugene has stood for many things during his time, and there is probably no one on the Board of Supervisors who has worked harder and longer at blocking taxes than Eugene. Now, taxes have a special meaning for people in Sterling Park because they're not the wealthiest people in the county. There's parts of the county, if you raise a tax and you add $1,000 here, $500 there, they don't care. That doesn't mean anything. You know, their au pair may get paid a few bucks less, but it's not going to affect them at all. But you do that to people in Sterling Park. You do that to the waitress who's raising a 6-year-old boy on what she makes in tips, and all of a sudden you say, okay, you've got to give up an extra $1,000. You've got to give up an extra $500. You do that to somebody who works as a mechanic or does all kinds of things that make this county go round. And all of a sudden, you push them into a spot where they're deciding, okay, do we you know, do we pay the mortgage or do we pay the tax? Do we pay for the medicine or do we pay for food? Okay, these are things that are very real to people in Sterling. So when Eugene fights for taxes, he fights from the heart. And we stand here, we're doing this get-together in a restaurant, and you'll notice that over and over again, Eugene is always doing his events in small restaurants. And there's a reason for that. Because were it not for Eugene Delgaudio, we would have a meals tax. I don't know, how many times have been? Probably 3 times? 3 times, I thought. 3 times Eugene has faced the meals tax, and he's defeated it. And if it were not for him, you'd be paying a meals tax, and this restaurant right here might be closed down today. And I appreciate that, Eugene. You know, Eugene has something else that's very important. I think he understands that if he is going to retain the quality of this community, he's got to do it by maintaining a sense of morality and decency. And Eugene has fought, he's fought consistently. He's a pro-life delegate or supervisor. He is pro-marriage like nobody's business. And one of the things that I think we all appreciate very much is some years ago, there was a push made to abolish the ancient tradition of having the Christmas displays on the courthouse yard. Nobody could even remember when those displays were not there, because they went through. During the discussion, they said, when did this first begin? And the news could never determine, because there is no one old enough in Loudoun County today to remember when they first had them or when they didn't have them. Maybe they had them 200 years ago, I don't know. But they wanted to stop them. And they would have stopped them. They very nearly did. There was a committee set up. It was very smoothly run. They came up with recommendations. They're going to do away with the Christmas tradition. One person, helped by a multitude of you, but one person took the lead and blocked that. And that was Eugene Delgaudio, and I thank you for that, Eugene. You're welcome.
I'll do it again.
So Eugene has held the fabric of Sterling together through all of the pressures that have affected us. He's kept the moral standards high, and most recently, he got approval for a new sheriff's station. We now have a sheriff's station here so that we have community patrolling, and he's also enforced some of the rules on overcrowding that attract bad elements into places where people are lined up like cordwood in homes. And by doing that, he has maintained a low crime rate in Sterling, which I don't think anybody else could have done. I think this is the man who is responsible for the low crime rate in Sterling, and I thank you for that, Eugene. Finally, I'd just like to close by saying that there is probably not, in my memory, there probably has not been a delegate who is more beloved by the people that he represents than Eugene Delgaudio. He is consistent. He is everywhere in the district. He's out there going door to door over and over again, and he's asking, what do you need? What would you like done? There are Democrats, there are long-term, dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore Democrats who go to the polls and they vote Democrat for everybody but one, and they say, you know, I never vote Republican, but I've got to vote for this man because nobody represents me like Eugene Delgaudio. There is nobody in this county who provides better constituent service than Eugene does. And I think one of the things that everybody has heard is when there's rough weather, you know, there are a lot of retired people out here, a lot of elderly people on Social Security. Some of them are not getting around that well. And when they're snowed in, who shows up at the door? It's their supervisor, Eugene, with a shovel, and he shovels them out. Now, if that isn't constituent service, I don't know what is. So in closing, I will tell you that one of the most important things in the upcoming elections for 2015, one of the things that will most affect the way that Loudoun County looks after this election is going to be this supervisor election. And it is so crucial that we re-elect Eugene Delgaudio. And in closing, I just want to personally thank you, Eugene, for everything that you have done. You have really been put through the mill. The Democrats were so anxious to get you out of office because they know they can't win at the ballot box. So they've dragged you through court, and you've been exonerated once, twice, 3 times, 4 times by Democrat prosecutors who have said, this is rubbish, by judges who have said, this is rubbish. Now, nothing bothers me more than the corrupt abuse of the judicial system to warp our political system. Nothing is a more profound danger to this country than the misuse, the corrupt misuse of the judicial system. And I'm proud to have stood with you. Charlie, I appreciate your work on that. And I'm proud that we were able to overcome, and I'm proud that our judicial system did what it was supposed to do. God bless you. I'll be with you all the way, Eugene. Win us another victory.